She didn't lose men. That's the lie she tells herself because it hurts less. Because loss sounds accidental. Because loss sounds unfair. But what really happened was far more precise. Far more brutal. She lost leverage. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe and like the video. This is DepthRealm, where we expose the patterns people don't want to face. In her early years, leverage was invisible to her. Not because it wasn't there, but because it was everywhere. Attention came without effort. Interest arrived without strategy. Desire followed her presence, not her actions. Men approached. Men pursued. Men invested. And when leverage is abundant, you don't respect it. You assume it's permanent. You assume it's identity. You assume it's who you are, not what the market temporarily grants. So she learned the wrong lesson early. She learned that men are replaceable, that effort is optional, that commitment is something men compete to earn. She learned that walking away costs nothing. And for a long time she was right. When she rejected men, there was always another. When she delayed commitment, nothing disappeared. When she chose excitement over stability, the world didn't punish her. The bill never arrived on time, because leverage doesn't disappear suddenly. It erodes quietly. She didn't notice the first shift. Why would she? The attention was still there, just slightly different. The men were still interested, just less invested. The conversations still happened, just shorter. She told herself it was maturity. She told herself she was being selective. She told herself she had standards now. But standards without leverage are just preferences. And preferences don't move markets. Here's the part no one explains to her. Leverage is not beauty alone. It's timing. The scarcity. It's optionality combined with youth, energy, and emotional bandwidth. Leverage exists when walking away costs the other person more than it costs you. And over time, that equation flipped. Men didn't stop wanting her. They stopped prioritizing her. Because men age into leverage. They gain experience. They gain resources. They gain emotional discipline. They gain options. And when men gain options, they stop tolerating imbalance. They stop chasing women who hesitate. They stop investing in women who evaluate them like products. They stop rewarding women who confuse interest with entitlement. So when she says, men just disappeared, what she really means is, men recalculated. She was no longer the obvious choice. She was a conditional one. And conditional interest is fragile. She didn't lose men because she became unattractive. She lost men because she became expensive emotionally without offering proportional return. Men don't fear strong women. They fear bad deals. And leverage determines who sets the terms of the deal. When she had leverage, she could demand clarity without offering peace. She could ask for commitment while staying undecided. She could withhold effort and still receive investment. But once leverage declined, those same behaviors triggered withdrawal. Men began mirroring her energy instead of overcompensating for it. And that felt like rejection. But it wasn't. It was equilibrium. Here's the uncomfortable truth. She didn't lose men when she got older. She lost men when she failed to convert leverage into partnership. Leverage is meant to be used, not hoarded. It's meant to build, not delay. But she treated it like a permanent resource. So she postponed. She explored. She tested. She optimized. And while she optimized, the market shifted. Men who once would have committed now had better options. Younger women with less baggage. Calmer women with fewer expectations. Women who didn't require convincing to cooperate. Not better women, simpler deals. And simplicity wins when leverage is equal. Now she feels something she never felt before, resistance. Men don't move faster when she wants clarity. Men don't explain themselves anymore. Men don't tolerate emotional volatility disguised as passion. Men don't compete. They disengage. Because men with leverage don't negotiate desire. They select. And selection feels cruel to those who once controlled the process. She starts asking the wrong questions. Why are men intimidated? Why don't men want commitment anymore? Why is dating so broken? But dating didn't break. The power dynamic shifted. She mistakes leverage loss for moral failure, hers or theirs. But this isn't morality. It's market logic. When she had leverage, men adapted to her. Now men expect adaptation from her. And that feels humiliating to someone who was never taught how leverage works. Here's the part that hurts the most. She didn't lose men because she wasn't enough. She lost men because she waited too long to choose. Men don't fear commitment. They fear investing in women who treat commitment like a backup plan. The moment a man senses that he's being chosen out of urgency instead of desire, his interest collapses. Men want to be chosen first, not last. And when she finally wants stability, stability has already filtered her out. Not as punishment, as preference. Stable men look for women who valued stability before it became necessary. They look for emotional regulation, softness, cooperation, peace. And years of living in leverage mode trained her nervous system for control, not connection. She became guarded, analytical, defensive, impatient. Not because she's broken, because leverage taught her she didn't need to soften. But once leverage disappears, softness becomes currency. And she never learned how to use it. So now she experiences a strange contradiction. She has standards but no authority to enforce them. She has preferences but no market power to demand compliance. She has experience but less appeal to those who value ease. And instead of adapting, many women double down. They raise standards higher. They become more rigid, more critical, more dismissive. But raising standards without leverage doesn't increase attraction. It accelerates isolation. This is where bitterness begins. She starts resenting men for not choosing her the way they once did. She calls it misogyny. She calls it immaturity. She calls it fear. But men aren't afraid. They're selective. And selectivity is invisible to those who never had to earn it. The hardest part for her to accept is this: leverage doesn't return through argument. It doesn't return through blame. It doesn't return through entitlement. It only returns through recalibration, through emotional maturity, through cooperation, through peace, through choosing early instead of waiting to be convinced. Some women learn this in time. They let go of the identity of being chased. They stop negotiating attraction. They stop performing detachment. They become receptive instead of impressive. And something changes. Men don't rush, but they stay. Desire doesn't spike, but it stabilizes. Attention doesn't flood, but it's intentional. Others never adapt. They cling to the memory of leverage like a lost crown. They wait for the market to return to them. They mistake loneliness for empowerment. And they age into resentment, not because men abandoned them, but because leverage doesn't forgive denial. This is the truth no one says out loud. She didn't lose men. Men didn't disappear. Love didn't die. She lost leverage and never learned how to operate without it. And once leverage is gone, only character remains. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is DepthRealm.